Hello, Duchess.
Hello, Rosie.
It's so nice to see you.
Hello,
How
isn't
are
it
you?
extraordinary? Great. How are you?
Good. Yes, I'm all right, thank you. Not too bad, but very happy to be talking to you about a subject that I know the two of us care about passionately. So thank you for joining me today on World Kindness Day. So tell me, why is kindness such an important value to you?
Well, firstly, I couldn't agree more. This is our favourite subject, isn't it, Rosie?
It is. We can
And
talk for hours.
and I know absolute hours about it. And do you remember? That lovely lunch we had with Joe
Yeah.
Malone and all our lovely friends?
And Joan Collins. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you remember I bought Poppy and Poppy, my
Hmm.
goddaughter. Hold on,
Yes.
long hair like your long hair, yes. And I bought Poppy, my goddaughter, who I love, and it was her mummy who died of melanoma. And
Hmm.
on just before she died, she said, "Fergie, remember there should be more kindness in the world." And
Hmm.
remember that word. Now that must have been 20 or more years ago that she died.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I sort of always remember her telling me that. I think the first thing I had to learn was to be kind to myself
Hmm.
and to realize that it's okay to be as people say, slightly different or have a different perspective on life, or to
Yes.
live. I'm 61, but live in a world of 6 to 8 year olds and write children's
Yes.
books and children's literature.
Yeah.
And so I said to Kate this morning, I said, goodness, sometimes I forget that I'm 61 and I love life so much and so
Yeah.
much color. And the way
Hmm.
that I live it with my value system is goodness and kindness. So kindness is remembering, kindness
Yes.
is loyalty, kindness is
Hmm.
friendship, and kindness is never forgetting who has been there through thick and thin, through good
Yeah.
days, bad days, rainy days. And I've mentioned Joe and of course you and Eduardo and
Yeah.
Poppy and Carolyn. And so
Yes.
I believe that I was really happy to talk to you on World Kindness Day.
Oh, well, thank you. And we appreciate it. And our relationship with you and your family is very important to me and all of us at Hello. But I think you really touched on something important there as well about kindness is not judgmental. I think certainly, we have to remember that you never quite know what is going on in somebody's life at any given time. And often people do judge people by how they look or the amazing photos that are on their social media profiles, but we never really know what is going on in their lives. And if you treat people with kindness, you're kind of setting a benchmark that you can never go wrong, kind of, can you?
Well, the thing is that kindness has no boundaries,
Hmm.
and kindness has no uh, you can't put it in a box. It
Yes.
I call it altitude because
Yeah.
because I'd much rather go home. If someone's crossed with me, I'd much rather go up to them and say, "What is it? I'm terribly sorry if I've done something to offend you. Is
Yeah.
there something we can fix?" And if they
Yeah.
say, "No, I just hate redheads," I go, "Okay, well." But at least
That's
I've
your
cleared
loss.
my side of I've cleared my side of the street, as I call it. And
Yeah.
so, but Rosie, if I could come back, because a lot of people think in their speedy lives now, and it is so frightening
Hmm.
out there with social media and all this is so frightening. What is kindness? And I I looked at kindness and the word, and it is not just one word. It's an umbrella for
Yeah.
kindness, loyalty, friendship.
Yeah, and that's so needed, especially now, isn't it? We're just entering, in a second lockdown. Times are really tough and challenging for a huge number of people around the country. I think now is the time to kind of fire up our kindness mojo, isn't it? And to use it in our communities as well as in our own homes and to ourselves.
Mm.
Self-compassion is such an important part of it. How do you kind of practice self-compassion? How are you kind to yourself in this fast-paced world?
Rosie, in this fast-paced world, I find that is the key is to spot your own pressure addiction.
Hmm.
I must, I must, I must, I must, I must, and then you suddenly stop and go, well, why must I?
Why? Yeah, we pressure ourselves so much, don't we?
So my pressure button would be, yeah, I must go down. I must do this. I must do that. I must do that. Right. But
Hmm.
actually, who's the judge? Who's the
Yeah.
person with the whip? Who's the
Mm.
person that's making you do all this? It's your own judgment of yourself.
That's
So if you could
true.
just take the pressure off you for a second and
Yeah.
say, how are you, Sarah?
Yeah.
How are you today? And then you suddenly go, oh, okay.
Did you have to teach yourself that kind of practice, or
You have
does
to
it come
notice.
naturally? Did you learn it kind of over a long period of time? Did you learn the hard way?
I learned it from Knox, Rosie, and
Mm,
and for understanding who you are. And for so many years, I was running around as a people pleaser, or running around trying to make
yeah.
everybody love me. But instead, I realized that once you put the oxygen mask on yourself, literally like an airplane, then
Yes.
then once you do that, then the outward energy is so much easier because you're kinder to yourself. So once you're kinder to yourself and you become aware of yourself, then
Yes.
it's not selfish, as I was a 61 being brought up by my grandmother and people always saying you're selfish to think of yourself. No, it's not. Get yourself right, and then you can
Hmm.
give so much to others.
Yes, that's true. And that's the great thing about kindness, isn't it? It has so many benefits to yourself as well as the people you were being kind to. I was
Mm.
talking to my little son, my 6.5-year-old, last night about kindness. And I asked him what kindness meant to him. And he said, kindness makes me feel as happy as it does the person that I'm being kind to. And I thought, gosh, yes, you really understood it there. It is about, how you feel as well. And there are so many benefits to being kind. It improves self-confidence. I even read somewhere recently that it can make you look younger because of the rush of oxygen to your body,
Yes.
when you do something nice.
Well, Rosie,
So I'm very happy about that.
yeah, well done you being a good mum to your son, to that he knows that at 6. That's great.
Yeah.
So well done you. You must take your compliment. And then I think this is why I'm so determined, Rosie, to bring the KQ measurement into schools,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
the kindness quota. So you have the EQ, the IQ, but what about the kindness quota? Because
Yes.
also the interesting thing about that, and that we'll come back to that later on.
Yeah, it's a
Not
lovely
today.
concept though. Yeah, I'm really interested in that, your
But
kindness quota.
thank you, love, and we can do that later. But Rosie, just
Hmm.
quickly going back to that point, the KQ is later, and it's really exciting, and that will be a whole new thing I'm bringing
Yes.
as an ambassador for them. But I want to go back to your son saying,
Yeah.
be kind to another. It has been proven that you're right. There is this rush of a hormone, and I
Hmm.
can't remember the name of it, but we'll look it up afterwards, won't we? But it
Yeah.
really is this hormone that makes you feel so much better. And you
Yes.
suddenly get out of your own way, as I call it.
Mhm. And you also kept the nation's children entertained with story time with Fergie and Friends, which was a great initiative, still
Thank you.
going on, I believe.
Hold on, 1 minute,
Still-
1 minute, 1 minute. I know we're
Yeah.
recording, but you can keep recording. Keep
Okay.
recording, because now
You've got,
you see, once you take
this is
Fergie
the
and Friends,
story
on you
time with
go. Yes,
Fergie.
yes,
Look, yeah. Well, you entertained them with your little activities that you did as well, and your outfits, which is
All
really
right.
great fun.
And I kept going, Rosie, on Halloween. Imagine monster
Yeah.
sandwiches and
Yeah.
bat. And I think your 6-year-old might like bat.
Oh,
Biggies.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, great. And I saw the mummies that you made at one point as well.
Yeah, oh, you saw this, yes.
Yeah,
Mum's
so
made them very
the
well.
cooking. And we have got a little exclusive to discuss. Isn't there a book sort of following on from this on the subject of kindness?
Oh,
You've got
yes.
a gift of kindness book coming out,
That's right.
11th of
Rosie,
December.
you're very up to date, Rosie. I
I
think
am, aren't I?
in
Well, I
your
got
ear.
excited about an exclusive to do with this. So can you tell me a little bit about the book? It's a children's book.
It's a children's book. It's called The Gift of Kindness, and
Yeah.
is the donation. My side of the donation will go to to build out the KQ Foundation, which is the
Right. Oh,
Foundation.
great. Yeah.
And your 6-year-old will love it. What's his name?
Heath.
Heath. Okay.
Heath is the elder, yeah, and Rex is 5, so
Sweet.
probably aimed at both of them.
Yeah, end up with them. Okay. So, do Heath and Rex by any chance like going to Winter Wonderland?
Oh yes, they do. Yeah,
do.
we go there every year. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's based around Heath and Rex going. There's 2 children going to Winter Wonderland. They
Right.
wander with mum and dad into Winter Wonderland, and there's a little old man with his little dog called Snowball, and they don't walk past the little old man who looks as we said at the beginning of this. It's about no judgment, And
Yeah.
he's just sitting there with his little dog, and they don't rush off to go on the big wheel or on the games. They actually go up to him and say, hello, hi there, how
Yeah.
are you? Can we get you some hot chocolate? And he says,
Yes.
oh, so kind of you, but I can give you a hot chestnut. So they take the hot chestnut, and immediately they're transported into a Victorian fair in
Oh,
1865.
wow. Oh,
And
amazing. So they go
it's
back in time.
and it's to
Mhm.
teach children about the Victorian period and the
Yeah.
history. And they go along, and they follow the little Snowball. And now they're all dressed in Victorian clothes, and they go and follow little Snowball. And Snowball takes them to an orphanage, and there is the nasty woman who's being very nasty to all the children and very grumpy. And then they knock on the door, and the lady says, "What do you want?" And the two Rex and Heath say, "Oh,
Yeah.
please come to the fair. It'd be so fun." Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Nobody wants me. I'm just an old bag. Nobody wants me. And of course, by the act of kindness, she changes,
Yes.
and therefore she changes all the orphans'
Oh,
lives, and
right.
they feel great. Then Snowball takes them back to Winter Wonderland, and
Oh,
they go home to Mum and
wow.
Dad.
How lovely. It sounds magical.
It's a
Well,
thriller.
I'll have to read that to my children.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't worry, you'll get a book, but
Sounds gorgeous.
it's very
And
exciting.
and again, a reminder of that kindness really is quite an old-fashioned value, isn't it? It's just good old-fashioned manners.
Yes.
Actually, Rex said that when I asked him about what kindness meant, and he said it's being polite,
Yeah.
which I sort of said, well, that sums it up as well, isn't it? It's just good old-fashioned manners.
Well, we quite like Rex as well, you see, because I
Yeah.
always say my father always brought me up to say that the person in the kitchen was just as
Mhm.
important as the table.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
don't ever forget that they've gone out, done the shopping, they've cooked the lovely dinner. Why you're not remembering that they're just as important?
Yes.
And then also the other thing I have is, in this day, which is so fast,
Mhm.
so easy just to drop a WhatsApp, isn't it? But what
Yeah.
about a handwritten note?
Mhm. You're
Dear
very good with
Rosie,
your handwritten notes. I've had handwritten note from you, and you do lovely little illustrations on them. You've got beautiful handwriting.
thank you. Thank
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, I've kept my
Yeah, I do.
lovely letters
I
from you.
do fountain pen, and
Yes.
I think if Rosie, if Heath and Rex have cooked me some lovely bats bickies or whatever they might
Yes.
do at,
Yeah.
then the least I can do is write a little
It's
note.
right
Thank
to
you,
letter
Heath
back.
and Rex.
Yes. Well, we will have to make sure that that happens.
Yeah.
Now, we touched a little bit on the online world, sort of going back to that. We live in this fast paced world now where the online world has become, just as important as the real world to many extents. I mean, look at us here talking through a screen. But the online world has lots of negativity around it, especially at the moment. And people are suffering from trolling and negative comments. How do you deal with kind of that aspect of being online? What's your experience of that world?
Well, because I live with Heath and Rex's age group,
Mhm.
I find it really
Yeah,
cruel. I find it
yeah,
really cruel.
yeah.
I have to say it's one of my big things that really affects my heart.
Mm,
Being a golden-hearted rebel, as I just, oh my goodness, please be nice to each other. Why do you
yeah.
have to be so judgmental? But I do
Mhm,
understand if somebody is really hurting and they're reaching out and lashing out, they don't really mean to. They're just in
mhm.
fear that they haven't done the work. And you need to do
Well,
the work, You
well,
need to
that's very
face it.
gracious of you. Yeah, to think of the other person. But how does that make you feel yourself? Do you read these comments?
Yes, I do. I absolutely do, and I have done. And I've been in the public life now for 34 years or
Mhm.
something, and I'm still just as sensitive as I was when I started.
Yeah.
And when they wrote 82% would sleep with the goat than Fergie, well, that was
Oh
in the
God.
papers, and now it's
Yeah.
on social media. And I do understand it's so cruel, and
Mm,
it's so. I'm lost for words as to what to do. So I think the only thing we can do is lead by example, and the
mhm.
example is to, when all men doubt you, you raise your game and you
Yeah.
smile. And
Yeah.
Mother Teresa did that lovely poem which says, "If people are unfair, be fair anyway. If
Yeah.
people are unkind, be kind anyway." So I think the
Yeah.
game I have, in answer to your
Mhm.
question, Lucy, is the crueler people are to me,
Mm.
the more that I smile.
Right. And the more determined you are to rise up and
Yes, I
smile
am.
back.
And I really, and I will keep smiling. And I think, Rosie, I know many young people have probably no idea who this mad redhead is, but if you look back at every single photograph that has ever been photographed of me, you'll find me smiling, except for one photograph I remember.
Yeah, that takes a lot of strength, doesn't it? And the building of resilience, which is kind of quite exhausting to have to do. So I think, part of what we want to do together, I think, is to spread this message of kindness, because it's very sad that reading commentary on your social media account should put you into such a bad place and make you feel so upset. It's unnecessary.
Well, I think it's beyond, Rosie, actually, unnecessary. I think it is abhorrent. I think trolling, I think the tweets, I think I find it abhorrent that you can waste your time to be so cruel to another member of the human race. I guess people go around shooting animals and taking rhinoceros' horns off. I mean, people are very cruel, and I don't understand why they're so cruel. And the complacency of people that would do this, that's why we have to get KQ into schools. We've got to get kindness for young people. But it sounds like Heath and Rex are good examples.
Yes, I mean that we try, and but I think having that greater accountability online is going to be really important in the future as well. So that people remember, that there is a human being at the other end of that social media account, and that they have to be accountable for the commentary that they make, because there are all these false accounts and things like that. It just feels a bit out of control. So which is why I certainly feel it's so important that we push our Hello to Kindness campaign, which was launched in reaction to the growing negativity we were seeing, especially within the social media world. And, members of our team spending a disproportionate amount of time blocking users, deleting racist, bullying, sexist, commentary. It's just, we wanted to make a stand and say this is not okay in our world. We have to think about people's feelings.
Well, it's too easy. It's far too easy to feel bad about yourself and therefore beat someone else up. You really have to look at why you would put another person down. And because in fact you're jealous. Is it because in fact you wish to be that person? Well, all right. Well, then reach out and say, how can you help me? Rather than, oh, you must be awful because.
Now, we talked as well a bit about teaching kindness in our children. Your beautiful daughters, who have had a great year by all accounts, with a wedding and a baby on the way. How did you teach the value of kindness in them?
Well, you're sweet. It sounds to me, Rose, you've been great with Rex and Heath. So you know what to do. I believe you lead by example. And one of the things I really notice is if you, when you go and speak to your children as a parent, if you go and speak to your children, shut the telephone off, turn the television off, shut the door and say, hi, I'm here. You show them the same respect as you would another, just because they're little people, 5 and 6 or whatever age. Why are they not entitled to be listened to? Why are they not entitled to their own voice? I mean, look what Heath and Rex told you. That was out of just be polite and have manners.
Well, and being properly present.
How about when you're talking to someone, they're looking down at the telephone? Does that not drive you mad? Why not just say, excuse me, for 1 minute, could you look me in the eye? And so for children, the most important thing is lead by example, and try and remember that just because you're known as an adult, are you really an adult? Just be human. You make mistakes on a daily basis too. So just go to your children and say, oh dear, sorry, did I annoy you today? Or how are you? Or can I make things better? Or perhaps you're angry with mummy and daddy. So I did the 5 nuggets, I call it, which is, how was school today? And you see their reaction, but it means that you're listening.
Yeah, it's so important, because you do have to teach empathy in children. They're not born empathetic. It's something that is a learned behavior. To develop that part of the brain is a developmental stage. So we have to sort of always encourage them, to show compassion. And that starts very much in the home, doesn't it?
Yes.
Now, of course, before we go, looking ahead to 2021 and a year that we all hope, fingers crossed and prayers, that we're going to be able to reset and sort of rebuild and reconnect with one another. It's also a year where you're set to become a grandmother, which is very exciting. And how are you going to go about sort of teaching that kind of empathy and that kindness in the new family member?
Oh, you're so funny. If anyone's seen Fergie and Friends, you will know that is just what every minute of my
do.
day
Yes. You're going to be their best buddy, aren't you? You'll be more than a grandmother.
And also that sort of really cozy moment with I remember my grandmother, and I think rather nice, Rosie, maybe later on we should talk about a project about, do you remember your grandmother's words? You know, it might be rather a lovely little project to do.
Yes, that is true. My grandmother was the kindest woman. Yeah.
And I kind of like that feeling. And so we might do that together. We could, maybe
I love that.
Maybe I could go and interview with you lovely people that remember their grannies. And we could call it Remember Your Granny Day.
Yes, that's a lovely idea, because the older generation, you know, and especially now with what we're going through, you know, the loneliness and the mental health issues are not just, you know, there's a lot of buzz around mental health in younger people, which obviously is a huge issue too, but also the elderly, you know, suffering from loneliness.
Well, we could do the Hello to Kindness Granny Awards.
Yes.
Your best granny. But the thing is, I remember my granny, and I remember the most exciting thing ever was going over to her house and having some raspberries with cream, Jersey.
Right. Oh,
Jersey,
lovely.
Caster sugar, and the sugar bowl was a red glass, and it had the silver spoon was like a spade, so it was amusing to dig your sugar. And then she grated digestive biscuits on top.
Really? Oh wow!
And it's so funny to think that I will never forget it. And I think the raspberries came out of a tin then, and it was so long ago, but I'll never forget it. And even today, when I sort of see raspberries, I think of a wonderful, happy moment in my heart.
But she taught you about kindness as well, didn't she, your grandmother?
Yes, she did.
So you'll be the kindest grandmother to this lovely little grandchild that will come along and brighten up 2021.
Well, I call it joy bubbles, actually, Rosie. I think that there are joy bubbles everywhere, and I think Rex and Heath will agree. You don't know where joy bubbles might appear. You know, I always say that there are fairies everywhere. You don't know whether they're going to appear.
Right.
And of course, joy bubbles is really what I'm about. And so yes, I'm very proud of this year, and my girls. I mean, I'm no more proud of my girls than flying to the moon. I mean, they couldn't get more proud of my two beautiful girls.
Yes,
great examples of really practicing what you preach and being gentle, being kind, and kindness. They are so empathetic, and they really are exceptional girls.
And leading by example. Yeah. I love what Princess Eugenie's done with her scoliosis, you know, and encouraging all of those, you know, young people with their scars to be proud of them. I mean, that's an incredibly kind, selfless act, isn't it?
And also Beatrice with her dyslexia and talking openly about it. You know, they certainly are the most humble people I know.
Well, they had a fantastic mother, and I'm really glad and thrilled to call you a friend, Sarah, and I really enjoyed our chat. So let's celebrate World Kindness Day, but it's not just about today, it's about every day, you know, and making the practice of kindness, you know, part of your daily routine, whether that's to yourself or to, you know, your loved ones or within the wider communities. We need it so badly right now, don't we?
So badly. And I'm just so proud to sort of sit in that world. I love it. It makes it
feels good, doesn't it? Yeah.
Feels gentle.
Well, thank you for being so open today. It was really lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you, Rosie. We could go on for hours, couldn't we?
We could go on. That will be the end of the official one.
I know.
Yeah. and now we have the real gossip.
Rosie, thanks a million.
Thank you so much.
I'll send Rex and Heath a book today.
Oh, I can't wait to read that. I'd love that. We'll make some biscuits as well. I'll look up the bats. All right.
Back Bickies. Okay,
Back Becky's. All right. Thank
bye.
you. Take
Bye,
care.
Rosie.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.